In Aloft, you can have multiple home islands, so you can use a smaller island as your ship for easier navigation, and a bigger island for your house and other builds. If you just started playing this game, then keep watching for more beginner tips and tricks. This video will cover everything early game from basic settings to restoring an island's ecosystem, while giving you some helpful tips that I wish I knew sooner. Do note that this video was made during early access and some things might change as the game develops. Let's start with the basic settings. From the settings, you can switch from a first-person POV and third-person POV depending on what you're comfortable with. You can also just toggle this by pressing F4. Another setting you should look at is the auto swing tool. Turning this on allows tools to swing automatically without needing to press the button multiple times. I personally set this at double click because there is a charged attack where I need to hold the mouse button and it won't trigger if this setting is turned on. If you rather have the auto swing feature turned off completely, you have to press the button every time you want to swing your tool. Pay attention to the meter when you're doing this. Time your next click to when the meter is at the yellow area to get combos for a higher weapon damage. Next, I have some tips when you're about to create a new character and world. Take your time in creating your character and your character name. As far as I can tell, there's currently no way to change your appearance after you've created your character. More clothing will be unlocked in the game though. Each world has different island placements aside from the starting region. The crafting recipes your character has discovered will be stored on your character and not your world. So you'll be able to keep your crafting recipes over to the other worlds if you want to. Once a world has been generated, there is no way to change it to peaceful. However, a character can be brought into a new peaceful world with all the items you currently have and your home island. Crafting and building items are a big part of this game. There are two ways to craft an item, using your inventory crafting menu or using a workbench. When you find new items in the game, ensure to check your crafting menu and your workbench. If an item is marked with yellow dots, it means that you can unlock a new recipe by combining those items. You don't need to immediately craft the new recipe, especially if it's going to use up items that are hard to find early game. There is an option to just learn the recipe, and I suggest you use this first so you can see if the item you can craft is worth using up those ingredients. For building, there are two different ways you can acquire blueprints. By learning it from investigating knowledge stones, frescoes, or anchors, or by using a sketchbook. If you learn blueprints from stone, frescoes, or anchors, these recipes are learned in the same order, so you don't have to worry about missing an important recipe from any island. Then you can also use a sketchbook to learn some blueprints by looking at a structure or item. Note that if you already have the blueprint for something, you will not be able to sketch it again. This sketchbook can be crafted using paper and charcoal. It also uses up those materials when you want to sketch the blueprint for something. As you explore more islands, you'll eventually stack up on paper and charcoal, but be careful early game and only choose to sketch the ones you really like because you might run out of materials fast. You can dismantle various journals and sketchbooks you find in the world to get additional paper if you need it. Along with blueprints, you'll also need a hammer to build items. This is a tool that you can craft by combining stone and wood. One tip while using the hammer is you can press the mouse wheel to duplicate the same object you're looking at. This will make building structures like fences and floors faster. The glider lets you travel pretty far and it's fun to use, but it does have some limitations. You will be able to fly across islands from the same cluster, but you need to build an island ship to get to another island cluster. In order to build an island ship, you need a rudder, a leaf floater, a sail, a helm, and a table map. Then, to claim an island as your home, you also need to place a home kite and name the island. When picking your very first home island, consider its size and aesthetics. The size of the island will determine how many sails and floaters you need to make it fly. how many animals you can keep there, and the overall maneuverability of the ship. Of course, you'd also want to eventually build on your island, so it's important that it's visually appealing to you and has enough space for the builds you have in mind. Having a source of water is also good for easier farming, but it's doable without one. Don't fret too much about this decision though, because like I mentioned at the start of this video, you can have multiple home islands. Simply despawn the one that you are currently using, then claim a new one using a home kite. After that, you can despawn that new island as well, and re-summon the old one from the choices. Just make sure to name your islands properly because I haven't found a way to rename an island yet. Once you've chosen your first home island, I recommend crafting storage for your resources right away since you'll start accumulating a lot. There are certain storage made for specific resources like stone, wood, and leaves, but you can also craft different types of chests to store any other item from your inventory. You can toggle the global inventory in any of your storage. Turning it on will let the game automatically get from that storage while you're crafting or building. Turn it off if you are saving those materials for something else. With your home ship ready to go, you can finally head out into the world, so the next section is all about navigation. To orient your course easier, you can set waypoints using the table map. You can also use a spyglass that you can craft or gather to set these waypoints. The spyglass allows you to check additional information regarding an island, such as if the island can be used as a ship, if it has an unexplored cave, if it is corrupted, etc. The island colors on the table map has different meanings. A gray dot is an island you have not visited yet. A green dot is an island that has a healthy ecosystem. A yellow dot is one that has an unhealthy ecosystem, and a pink dot is corrupted and is filled with enemies. On the table map, you will see some partitions like this one. Pay attention to the part where it has a little gap and use that gap to go to the next area for smooth sailing. Otherwise, you'd have to navigate through an area filled with a lot of rocks and obstacles. Aside from your island size, the amount of ship structures that you have influences how your island moves. The amount of sails you have affects how fast your island can move forward. The amount of rudders determines its maneuverability, and leaf floaters affects how fast your island can ascend or descend. So if you are struggling with any of those aspects, just add what you need to make flying easier or faster. Once you've got your island sailing on the right track, you can leave the helm and the ship will maintain the settings you left. You can organize your items, build your house, and more while the island steers itself towards your destination. Don't worry about bumping into other islands since your ship will just stop, and it's easy to get out of that situation by steering again. Now that you know how to get from one area to the next, let's talk all about exploration. This game heavily rewards exploration, so take your time gathering resources and looking out for hidden locations and Easter eggs. There are some areas that can only be accessed by removing some obstacles or by flying towards random hidden platforms in the island. These areas are filled with rare materials and loot, so it's always worth to keep an eye out for it. Make sure to collect as much resources as you can, especially hardstone, charcoal, and paper early game. These items are needed to craft or build things you need to make your life easier. There are a lot of chests and leaf baskets scattered around islands, and it's good to collect the loot inside since some contain food and building materials. I usually dismantle the storage using my hammer after collecting the loot, so I don't end up looking through empty chests if I ever come across that area again. Then, keep an eye out for strange structures in the world like these rocks shaped like an X mark or circle. If you use your door key there, you can actually dig up chests filled with valuables. Clearing infected islands is a key part of progression in Aloft. You'll encounter these islands as you explore the skies, and each is inhabited with enemies that need to be dealt with. You can use your stone axe as a weapon at first, But I recommend crafting a stone sword as soon as you can using 1 wood, 1 rope, and 3 sharp stones. To deal the most damage with an attack, try to hit combos. To do this, hold your mouse to hit the enemy, and then pay close attention to the combo bar that appears on the screen. You'll want to wait till the meter is within the yellow zone before pressing again. Repeat this each time the meter hits the yellow zone and you'll perform combos that deal chain damage. Through time, you will learn other special attacks like a charge attack which costs momentum to perform. Don't forget that you can block and dodge to minimize the damage taken from enemies. If you do run out of health, you will just go back to your home island with no other penalties. The best way to prepare yourself for battle is to accumulate buffs before heading to the battle itself. Sleep in a bed to get the well-rested buff, which will grant you an increase in movement speed. Perform the lay down action on the ground to get the at peace buff that will grant you minor health regeneration. Eat different dishes that will give you additional health and useful buffs. You have up to 2 slots in your stomach. At first, you can eat simple food like blueberries. As you progress in the game, you'll be able to craft a cooking plate which will allow you to craft better meals with better buffs. Then, you can also drink clean water to get the hydrated buff for increased attack speed. While eating food and drinking water provides buffs, it won't actually heal your HP. To heal, you will need to craft leaf bandages, which are crafted with 2 leaf cloth and a reishi mushroom. You need to equip this on your hotbar to use it. Make sure that when you use your bandage, hold your mouse button until the animation finishes so you can get the full effect. Stopping the animation too quickly will result to just getting a small amount of health restored. Lastly, let's talk about how to make an island healthy and restore its ecosystem. Even after you've cleansed the corruption from an island, its ecosystem can still be unbalanced. You cannot harvest any resources from an unhealthy island, so you have to restore it first. To do this, you need to use a field guide, which will reveal the requirements on how to make a certain island healthy. Let's go through how to increase these parameters one by one. Plant native tree seeds to increase the forestry ratio. Flora diversity does not account for individual plants, but the species diversity. Use the second page of the field guide to track which small plant species are native to the island. Then to increase this ratio, equip wild seeds and cycle through the available species by right-clicking. When you find a species that has not been planted yet, left-click to increase floral diversity. Mammals and birds increase the island's animal population. Sheep, goat, and alpaca must be manually placed onto the island by docking your airship near it and jumping while holding the animal. You need to build or repair a birdhouse to entice birds to migrate to the island. To increase an island's insect diversity, you need to release a species that is native to the current biome. You can gather insects by looking at tree stumps or by using your doorkit to collect some worms. Once an insect species is released, it will never go extinct on that island. The only known decomposers so far are the reishi mushroom and worm. Worms increase an island's insect diversity as well, which makes this entity very valuable. Reishi can be planted at the base of any tree by equipping reishi inoculant, an item that you can get by milling reishi mushrooms using a millstone. If this video was helpful for you, then consider subscribing for more Aloft content. Thank you for watching!